TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. An uptick in efforts by Bedouin tribes in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula to smuggle weapons and munitions, as well as other illicit materials, to both the Gaza Strip and southern Israel, has triggered a strong Israeli response. U.S. President Donald Trump announces that Kazakhstan has agreed to join the Abraham Accords. The United States pledges to continue using every tool at its disposal to ensure that Hezbollah no longer poses a threat to the Lebanese people or the broader region. An uptick in efforts by Bedouin tribes in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula to smuggle weapons, munitions, and other illicit materials into the Gaza Strip, as well as southern Israel, by means of unmanned aerial vehicles, has triggered a very harsh Israeli response, with Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz declaring war on those responsible.
I have instructed the IDF to turn the territory adjacent to Israel-Egypt border a closed military zone, and to accordingly change the rules of engagement for the purpose of fighting the drones threat that is endangering state security. Concurrently, I have reached an agreement with ISA Director David Zini that the ISA would work to define the smuggling of weapons via drones as a terror threat, for the purpose of granting the security bodies that deal with this issue the rights to operate advanced new tools in the war against this threat. The smuggling of weapons by means of drones is part of the war in Gaza and is meant to arm our enemies, and we must use all tools necessary to end it. Today we declare war on this threat and anyone involved in smuggling. The rules of the game have changed, and whoever penetrates the closed military zone will pay a very heavy price and will be harmed.
It is important to note that the smuggling operations along the Egyptian border were primarily conducted by Bedouin tribes, which hold affiliations to radical Islamist and jihadist organizations and are also exploited by adverse intelligence agencies. Egypt has been cautious in confronting these issues amid a worsening economic crisis in a country of an estimated 118 million people, the majority of them evaluated near the poverty line. And while Egypt's inflation reached a record high of 38% in the third quarter of 2023, multi-billion bailouts by the International Monetary Fund, the United Arab Emirates, and the European Union, among others, have helped stabilize the economy, with inflation declining to 11.7% just last September. Meanwhile, a new and unexpected actor has entered into the Egyptian markets. A declared rival, with the Qatari Al Jazeera network banned from broadcast in Egypt, Cairo and Doha have seemingly revitalized the nature of their relationship, with a new memorandum of understanding signed between the two countries to include a $7.5 billion investment that includes the development of a luxury real estate and tourism project on Egypt's Mediterranean coast.
This is a partnership project where the state will acquire its share through three means. First, a cash payment of $3.5 billion, which will be paid by the end of December, which means that in exactly 50 days, the full amount will be paid at once. And there's an in-kind share that the state will receive in the form of residential units built by Qatari Dayar, covering an area of approximately 397,000 square meters, with an estimated value of around $1.8 billion.
The Qatari investment is seen as a strategic counterweight to the United Arab Emirates' Ras Al Hikma development project in Egypt of approximately $35 billion, which was signed in February of last year. Turning to the Gaza Strip, where the Islamist Hamas terror organization continues to violate the ceasefire on a daily basis.
Once again, yesterday, in two separate incidents in Gaza, the Air Force eliminated terrorists who crossed over the yellow line in the north of Gaza and posed an immediate threat to our soldiers, a violation by the terror group.
It is important to know that while the Islamist Hamas is over time returning the remains of the hostages that have been kidnapped by the terror group on October 7th of 2023 and before it, Hamas continues, however, to push back on any notion of disarmament and its future role as part of any governing body in the Gaza Strip. Naturally, if Hamas fails to adhere to President Donald Trump's 21-point plan, it will trigger a devastating response, which the American leader has yet again emphasized during a meeting with leaders of Central Asian nations last night. Asked further whether an enforcement mechanism would soon be implemented as part of the multilateral CMCC.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza is working out very well. And you haven't been hearing too much about problems. And I'll tell you, we've had countries that have volunteered. If there's a problem with Hamas, as an example, or a problem with anything, but they volunteered to, on a single basis, go in and take care of it. We have very powerful countries in this coalition, and it's not, this is because I've heard some of the press saying, well, it's a very tentative, or it's not tentative. This is a very strong peace. This is peace in the Middle East. Hamas is a very small part of it, very, very small part. And if they don't do as they said, if they don't behave, then they've got themselves a big problem, a really big problem like they've never had. But so far, it seems to be working out very well. But that's a very small part of what we're talking about.
President Trump continued by announcing that Kazakhstan has agreed to join the Abraham Accords, the first of a list of nations that are keen on joining the American-led framework of alliances.
Some of the countries we're talking about and some of the countries represented here are going to be joining the Abraham Accords, the Abraham Accord, and that those announcements will be made over the next little while. The Abraham Accords are very sought after right now. We're going to be announcing some very important countries that are joining, and for Jared and for Steve Witkoff, we appreciate the great job you've done. This evening, I'm also delighted to report that Kazakhstan has officially agreed, and that's official now, as of about 15 minutes ago. A tremendous country with a tremendous leader has officially joined the Abraham Accords. And I just want to thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor. It's a tremendous honor to have you. Really great.
As President of Peace, you, Mr. Trump, brought to an end 8 wars just within 8 months. Thus, you have evidently reinforced America, its role as a pillar of international stability.
Turning to Lebanon, where the Iranian proxy Hezbollah is defiantly working to rehabilitate its heavily battered military capabilities. Consequently, in the most aggressive enforcement of the ceasefire's terms and conditions as of yet, Israel conducted dozens of strikes over the span of several hours against military infrastructure belonging to the Iranian proxy.
So specifically on Lebanon, I'm sure you've seen the notifications that the IDF, of course, have put out, but Israel will continue to defend all of its borders. And we continue also to insist on the full enforcement of the ceasefire agreement between Lebanon and Israel. We will not allow Hezbollah to rearm themselves, to recover, build back up its strength to threaten the state of Israel. And the continuous terrorist activities by Hezbollah constitute a violation of the understanding between the ceasefire. So like I said, Israel will continue to remove any threat that is posed to our soldiers, to our citizens here, and we will do exactly what we need to do. Of course, you've seen these operations continue over the last few days.
Amid repeated warnings by multiple Western officials, to include U.S. Special Envoy Tom Barrack, of the vital need for the Lebanese government to disarm Hezbollah, the United States announced that it has sanctioned financial operatives funneling tens of millions of dollars from Iran to Hezbollah. According to a statement released by the U.S. State Department amid Iranian efforts to rehabilitate its influence in Lebanon, quote, "The United States is committed to supporting Lebanon by exposing and disrupting Iran's covert financing of Hezbollah. By enabling Hezbollah, Iran holds Lebanon back and undermines its sovereignty. Iran and Hezbollah cannot be allowed to keep Lebanon captive any longer. The United States will continue using every tool at its disposal to ensure this terrorist group no longer poses a threat to the Lebanese people or the broader region." Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to thank you once again if you're a supporter of TV7 Israel. Sincere donation is essential in helping us produce our daily news updates from here in Jerusalem. If you haven't yet supported TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, please consider doing so. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, as ever, pray for our brothers and sisters facing persecution globally, along with prayers for the peace of Jerusalem and the redemption of Israel. Jonathan Essen wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.